Welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast, the photo imaging industry's leading news source. Here's your host, Gary Pageau. The Dead Pixel Society podcast is brought to you by Media Clip, Advertech Printing, and IP Labs.
Hello again, and welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. I'm your host, Gary Pageau, and today we're joined by Sara Nay, who is the COO of Duct Tape Marketing and the founder of Spark Lab Consulting. She's got a lot of experience in marketing and strategy, and she's here to share her knowledge with us. Hi, Sara. How are you today?
I am doing great. How are you doing, Gary?
I'm doing great. Listen, for those who aren't familiar with duct tape marketing, you've actually been around for quite a few years.
About 30 years now. Yeah.
How many?
About 30. So about quite a few.
30. Okay, that's what I was saying. I think like I said, I remember seeing duct tape marketing materials back in my PMA days. So what is duct tape marketing? What is its charter as an organization? What do you try and help businesses do?
Yeah. So we have two sides of duct tape marketing. On one side, we are a strategic marketing agency. And so on that side of our business, we go into small businesses, we create marketing strategy, and then we move into long-term implementation relationships with our clients. And so that's one side of our business. And then as we just talked about, we've been doing this for a while, 30 years. So we've built a systematic approach to marketing. So we also certify other marketing consultants, agencies in our approach. So they're able to use our approach and go out and work with small businesses as well. So that's kind of our two sides of our business, but it's all based on building marketing strategy and implementing marketing effectively, essentially, for small businesses.
So somebody comes and they're duct tape marketing certified. I'm not sure what that word is or what the phrase is. Then they've gone through your routine and your program to ensure they're kind of following your 3 decades of experience. Is that right?
Yep, exactly. And so then they're able to use our approach with their clients ultimately.
So what is the approach? What got you into marketing strategy?
Yeah. So it started, with John, our founder, years ago when he got into this business. He uncovered what he thought was a big problem in small businesses is they didn't really know how to purchase marketing. They didn't know how to be effective in their marketing. There's all these tactics just being thrown at people all the time. You should be doing Facebook ads. You should be doing organic SEO. You should be doing this, this, and this. And so it was just this overwhelming thing. And so over the last several years, we've been working hard on developing a systematic approach to marketing that always starts with strategy. And so we come in to businesses on the front end and we start with an audit. So what is someone doing online already? What's their website look like, their social channels, their email marketing, just initial kind of baseline where you're at. And then from there, it's really important to understand what your competitors are doing so you can stand out from your competitors, and also interviewing your best clients so you can understand more about them and what messaging resonates with them. And so that's kind of the first part of strategy, is doing research essentially to understand those things, to then hopefully be able to develop, personas and messaging for your business. Yeah, like I said, part one of strategy, you have to understand who you're targeting, what message resonates with them. Like that's the most important baseline thing you need to do in order to be successful. But then once you understand those pieces, coming up with a plan on how to get in front of those people is important. And so one of our core concepts is called the Marketing Hourglass. And so it's essentially all the ways that someone could get to know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, and refer a business. And so again, after you know who you're targeting with what message, it's where are you trying to guide them? And then after you've done all that work, you can say, okay, I want to be on these channels with this message to help guide people on this journey. And so it's a pretty comprehensive program, but it allows people, once they have that, they have a lot of more clarity, confidence, control of their marketing. They don't waste a bunch of money on tactics. And so it's important work to be patient for and to do.
I think that's super important because, as we're going to get into, I'm sure, there are way more ways to spend money in marketing now than ever before.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of social channels. There's new platforms happening. There's way different approaches. But if you don't have a core understanding of your own business, you're wasting most of your time and money at that point, I would imagine.
Yeah, and understanding, your ideal clients is where it all starts, because you might hear you need to be doing Facebook advertising, but if your ideal clients aren't even on Facebook, then you're going to be wasting your money. And then
Right, right.
also on top of that, maybe they're on Facebook, but you don't know what messaging resonates with them. So you don't really understand their pain points or where they're trying to go. And
Mhm.
so again, even if they're on Facebook, you're wasting your money because you're not using the correct messaging. So yes, there's absolutely, and I think that's one of the biggest struggles in the small business space with marketing is you're just diving into tactics because you hear you should be doing it, but you don't have all of those other pieces. And so you're not being as effective. And also
Mhm.
I often see people just being spread too thin. And so,
Exactly.
maybe you pick, you have to, we help people focus, simplify, be effective on less channels often than
Mhm.
all the channels. Because if you're just kind of somewhat posting on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn without much thought because you're trying to do it all,
Right.
you're wasting a lot of energy. And so marketing really does come down to being very careful with what messaging you're using on the channels that your clients are spending most of their time.
Because one of the things I've learned, working with small businesses over the years is most small business people don't get into their business to be a marketer.
Mm.
They do it because they want to do the type of business that they're in, whether it's, in our industry, the photography industry, the photo industry, they like to print photos, preserve people's memories, decorate homes, do whatever. So that's a whole different discipline than what it takes to actually do the function that they want to get up and do every day. How do you help a business start that approach? I mean, understanding that they have a problem with that. What's like the number one thing that when you walk in, you say, you're a great dry cleaner.
Hmm.
It's your first step.
Yeah. So I'm going to recommend a book, Buy Back Your Time. I know we're just on audio. I was looking at my bookshelf. Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
Mhm.
He talks all about, if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a founder, you need to be spending time on areas of your business that grows your revenue and that you enjoy doing. Like that's where most of your time should be spent. And then you should be able to delegate most of everything else. And so if you go into a business, a photographer or, someone in a smaller business just in general, oftentimes when teams are small, the business owner is doing everything kind
Right.
of well and not as effectively as they could. And so I think it's really important to invest in people that can handle things like marketing, that can handle things like sales, that can handle things like finances if you need support there, and
Mhm.
really elevating yourself as the business owner to stay in your zone of genius and stay in, your passion, things you love
Right.
doing, because that's where true growth is going to happen. And so in the marketing space specifically, that either means hiring a marketer
Mhm.
in-house, but sometimes small businesses struggle with that because then you have to train this person and then you have to manage this person and now it feels like another project.
And it's an
But that's
expense because it's
and
hard to
it's an
track.
expense. Yeah, exactly. But that's one route. Another route, you could hire an outside consultant, a fractional CMO, something like that, that would then come in and basically handle your marketing for you,
Right.
allowing you to focus on things you're passionate about, things you love doing, because you can't do it all well. It's just
Mhm.
too much.
Even with the expansion of social and all these other channels, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all these things, the measuring of ROI, I think, is the part that a lot of small businesses struggle with because, if you send out a direct mail postcard, you knew you'd get a 2% return on that. With digital, it's so much more difficult. What are some of the realistic expectations of someone who, may have done more traditional things, but they start experimenting with digital content or digital marketing? What's sort of the reality check there?
It definitely, like a lot of the organic stuff online, it takes time. I always tell people that. Like if you're doing organic social media, if you're doing organic SEO, it's not going to make your phone ring tomorrow in most cases. Like
Right.
you're talking, depending on how competitive your industry is, you're talking, 3, 6, 9 months out. but it's
Right.
still an important piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Something like paid advertising, if you get a funnel working really, really well and really predictable, you can know how much you're going to spend and what your return is going to look like very clearly in most cases,
Mm.
where again, the organic piece is kind of a little bit more all over the place. But I always tell people, my clients, like, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket when it comes to marketing. And
Right.
so it's really important to, be focused on organic in most cases, to be out there networking, speaking, podcasting, building relationships. Being a human is another kind of bucket of marketing, I think. And then the last bucket is paid. And so, to your question, even though the organic is sometimes harder to track, like if you can get that going, it's going to pay off in the long term. And a lot of our client goals is let's have organic working so well we can actually back off of paid, because then you don't just have to continue to pay over time.
Right. Now, one of the things that I read in your materials is sort of which kind of piqued me into having you on the show, was you talk about how to avoid the shiny object syndrome,
Yeah.
which I have myself have see that happening a lot, because being in the industry we're in, it's an imaging industry. It's very visual. It's video. It's all these things. That's the content that, our listeners, work with for their customers. So they're naturally inclined to have them have the capability to do these things. Yet, like we talked about earlier, you don't necessarily have to be on every single platform. And how do you build a discipline to avoid being distracted so much?
It's such a common thing in entrepreneurship, like the distraction element. I really think it comes down to, in the beginning, like doing a comprehensive strategy, like I talked about earlier, like
Mhm.
going through that process once, at least in the beginning, to kick things off for marketing, or
Mhm.
wherever you're at. You can do it today. And then once a quarter, you come back to strategy. And so basically how we do it for our clients and what we recommend is, do the full blown strategy, and at the end, you'll walk away with like 4 to 6 of your biggest marketing priorities for that quarter. And then
Mhm.
about midway through the next quarter, plan out the next quarter of priorities and stick to it as much as you can. And then
Right.
whenever you get a new shiny idea, if you already
Right.
have your priorities mapped out, you can say, we already are focusing on these things that we put the strategic work into. It's a great idea, but we'll put it on the list for next quarter, and we'll have a discussion when we're planning those priorities, essentially. And so it really just comes down to putting the work in on the front end and then sticking to the plan. Not
Mhm.
saying it won't ever change and shift,
Right.
but you can at least stick closer to it when you put the work in like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because I think that's one of the things, especially in seasonal businesses like photography, where the fourth quarter is the big season, right? You tend to kind of focus all your eggs in that direction without realizing that, you are a year-round business. There may be other opportunities you should be planning for and cycling your marketing around.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so, obviously keeping in mind the full entire year is
Yeah.
important, but, only focusing on what's coming up this quarter, what's next, what can we do? And then paying
Yeah.
attention to metrics, based on what your priorities are. And so you mentioned direct mail earlier. Like if you're going to send out a direct mailer, have a QR code on there that you can track, have a phone number on there that you can track. So you know exactly how many you sent out, how much you paid for, how many calls are coming in, how many of those calls converted. And so that's just
Right.
one example. But, that will then tell you, let's say you send out 3 direct mails and you don't get any clients from it, you probably shouldn't do it anymore, or you need to change
Yeah.
your messaging,
Yeah.
but without that level of tracking, you don't know how to shift. You don't know
Mhm.
what to shift on. And you can track a lot online as well. But
Mhm.
that was just one example. So it's not just what are
Mhm.
the priorities, it's what are the priorities, sticking to them, and then defining metrics that will tell you if you're successful or not on those priorities, which will then tell you to keep working on them or to move forward to something else, essentially.
And the advantage that digital does have, it lets you, do A/B testing, where you can test
Mhm.
some different messages to the same audience or a different audience and that kind of thing. So you do get to test some of that.
Yeah.
Whereas with some things, it may be more difficult, traditional advertising, direct mail, things like that. Do you encourage people to do a lot? Because I think what a lot of people tend to do is they tend to look at the channel, and if they're not getting results from the channel, like Facebook ads or Google ads or whatnot, not realizing that the channel may be fine. It may actually be reaching the customers, but the messaging may be wrong. So you need to have ways to determine where the problem is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going to like Facebook or Google Ads, for something like that, you need at least like 30 days of strategizing, building, creating the different assets on the front end. And then you need at least like 30 days of like testing to see what's going to work and what's not working and what images work and what messages work. And then from there, you'll start seeing results. And then from there, it will get better and better and better over time because you're continuing to test and pay attention to the data. And so it's not like a quick, let's turn this on and the phone's going to ring. Like it will ring faster than organic, but there still is time and testing and metrics you need to pay attention to understand what's resonating and what's not. And so with like a paid campaign, I would say if you've tried it, for 1, 2, 3 months, stay patient, keep paying attention, keep tweaking things here and there, and hopefully it will perform, in the near future for you.
Now, the customer journey is also something that you talk about. It's not just where I think many people make mistakes is they tend to think of it as, I got the customer in the store and they bought something, but that's only a piece of the customer journey, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I touched on earlier when I was talking about strategy a bit. It's what we call the hourglass. Yeah. And so, a lot of people previously thought of marketing as just getting in front of more and more and more people. And that's a piece. But it's not always more people, it's the right people. So it's a bit of a shift there even. But, for us, it's you're getting in front of those people. And so it's no, and then they get to like and trust you. And then maybe they try your services on some level. And then they buy, which is coming in the store and buying something. That's what you talked about. But it doesn't end there. Like you said, then repeat and refer are the next 2 stages. So how can you like capture an email address and send them a monthly newsletter and send them offers and continue to nurture them from there after they come in once? And then refer, like how are you going to blow them away throughout that whole entire process so they're willing to refer you to people they know, because the magical thing about referrals is it helps people go through the front half of the hourglass so much faster because there's already a lot of like and trust and know built in. And so, oftentimes they can go through those phases really fast and be ready to try and buy. So that's where, if someone's in business that has clients that aren't gaining enough awareness at this moment, it's like, can we look at your existing client base and can we sell more to them? And can we generate referrals from them? Because that oftentimes can lead to faster, quicker, more predictable growth than launching new marketing campaigns from the beginning. So when we're thinking about marketing, it's really marketing, sales, and service are all kind of included in the customer journey.
So the referral piece I keep hearing about, it seems to me like there's more and more attention being to it because it is so valuable. A review of your service on Google, on your Google page, is far more valuable than probably a Google ad itself, probably. What are some of the ways that you can tactfully build a referral base? Because, not everyone's going to want to give you a referral. There are some referrals you probably don't want to get. Just are there 1 or 2 things people should keep in mind, and like how often do you bug people or request referrals or that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think it comes down to, as I said, providing a great experience through that whole customer journey is going to then make it, when you ask for the referral, that much easier. And so I have a client that's a dentist, and her marketing, we do her marketing, I think it's pretty solid. But then when people come into her office, she's incredible. Like she blows people away. They have an incredible experience. She listens to them. She educates them. Like she's just great at what she does. And so then when people leave the office, they're happy. They met her for the first time. They loved her. And so that's when her team sends a text message to ask for a referral through text message and email. So I really think it comes down to, with referrals, there's no like magic pill, but it comes like down from taking care of people throughout your process, the customer journey, and then asking in the right moment, and then making it as easy as possible for someone to actually do it. And so sending a text message to their phone where they can click a link and then type some things into Google and then hit submit, like you don't want to have any barriers. If you send them something, then they have to like go figure out, like they're just
create an account or whatever.
Yeah. And the asking in the right moment, I think, is huge too. So, if you're a retail business, someone comes into your store, they're thrilled. Can you hit them right away? somehow versus like, some people in the past, before they started working with us, it's like, oh, I have this list of people that purchased from us like 6 months ago. Can we ask them for reviews and referrals? I'm like, they might respond if they remember you at this point. And so it's a timing thing. It's a whole experience thing. And then it's genuinely like asking and adding some personality to it as well.
Yeah, I think you hit on a good point, though, is you actually have to do the job well.
Yeah.
Right. You have to follow up on your marketing promise because no amount of marketing is going to make up for the fact if your overall business itself is not up to snuff.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, just think of businesses in your life that have done a great job, that you've had a great experience with, and they've never asked you to refer, but you naturally do it. You just do it because you had a good experience and you all of a sudden want to tell all your families and friends so they can benefit from this great experience. Like that's the best thing you can do, honestly, for referrals.
Have you had an experience where it's okay if you don't, but that just made me think of something. Let's say you bring on a potential client or whatever, and you realize that they're actually not running their business very well and marketing will not work for them. That's a tough conversation.
Yes, which is actually why Spark Lab Consulting is the second business that we created, because that business is more focused on operations and scaling effectively. Because marketing, you can spend all your money on marketing, but then if you provide a bad customer experience, people aren't going to come back. People are going to leave bad reviews. People are going to, it's just a mess. And so you really have to have, in order to be successful and grow in a predictable way, you have to have the operations buttoned up first before you really invest in marketing, is my belief. Or you're just wasting money because people won't be happy.
I agree, because I run into that, where people, if they're not doing a great job with what they're doing, no amount of marketing is going to solve that problem. And yet that's what I point to. That's not working. Well, it's because they're not working.
Yeah. Like I've had clients in the past be like, marketing's not working. And I'm like, well, let's look at the leads that came in, like on the form that people are filling out. Like that's our goal. And then we'll like look at it together and like take them 5 days to respond to this person and 6 days to respond to this person. It's like the marketing's working. The sales is where the drop off is at this point, because speed to lead, you got to get back to people as soon as you possibly can in a situation like that. So I mean, you definitely, the better, like my favorite clients when they come to us is when they have a great product or service or customer experience, but they're ready to turn on marketing. Like you need both.
Yeah. So where does someone go for more information about duct tape marketing and the type of things you offer, and maybe to find a local person who may be certified in their area?
Yeah, they can just go to ducttapemarketing.com. So it's DUCTTAPE marketing.com. And then on our website in the top nav, there's find a certified agency. And so that's where our agencies and consultants are listed as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sara, for your time today. I think you've been very helpful, I think, to people who are in the trenches, who are looking at expanding the market. You've given them some great ideas and some great things to do, and hope you have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for listening to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. Read more great stories and sign up for the newsletter at www.thedeadpixelssociety.com.